walks into a room and people respond to him and they like him. He used to be fun.
Yeah.
He was a fun guy, but he's turned into an embittered middle-aged man. And he's going to have to be very careful because it bleeds into your everyday work, that you're just hostile and aggrieved.
Hi all, Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, a very special edition live from London with the very first man that ever gave me a chance. He was the first person to give me an interview, and I will never forget his kindness, and I will always, always, always owe you one, Andrew Morton. You've got a brand new Substack that I'm so excited about. The Morton Files is very easy to remember. You type in the Morton Files on Substack, subscribe, and you are covering everything from Churchill's relationship to Queen Elizabeth. You're talking about Prince George's, choice of Eton. You've got everything on there. History and up to date.
Yeah, a lot of history.
But that's why you're so knowledgeable about this family. Your entire life you've spent, researching this family.
I said years ago to two former Fleet Street colleagues, if I'm writing about the royal family in 25 years, shoot me.
Where are they now? Hopefully they don't have their weapons licenses. No,
Well,
but you're so good at it.
They both passed. So,
well, you outlasted them. Maybe there's some fountain of youth in this industry. Do you think covering the royals is?
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, the royals always tend to look a lot younger than the average age.
They do. They do. I want to ask, based on. Well, I mean, you've covered the royals, but really we think about you in association with Diana and even Meghan. You wrote a beautiful book about Meghan Markle. Sitting back watching the last week unfold for Prince Harry, have you been surprised? Have you been shocked by how this has all unfolded? Briefing against the palace, briefing against the court, the aggressive statement against the court ruling. Are you at all surprised by Prince Harry this week?
Not really, no, because he's the one thing he had in common with his mother. Well, he had a lot of things in common with his mother, but one of the main things was taking on the establishment. And Harry has come out bare-knuckled fighter to take on what Diana used to call the men in grey. And he's lost because he mistook inference for evidence. And that's the $53 million mistake that he made. And when I was just looking in a cursory way at the evidence that they were putting forward and knowing some of the witnesses, I thought I wouldn't have put $10 on it, on him winning, and I'm astonished that the court case, that the case went to court initially, and that he wasn't told, you're onto a loser.
Wow, yeah, because it's my understanding that the judge, in his 400-plus page ruling, which is him stressing how much he truly combed through this and invested in this. This wasn't a whitewash, to quote Prince Harry. This is a man that truly gave thought into his response to this. He acknowledges that statute of limitations that you're dealing with some of these cases. They're so old that they shouldn't have been presented. And it's my understanding that the insurance company potentially could sit around a table and go, well, if the judge is saying this should not have been presented at all, we don't have to necessarily pay out the entire insurance, the insurance fee.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
Well, I mean, it was a high-stakes game, a high-stakes manoeuvre, and he's lost. I mean, as Paul Dacre, the managing editor, I think he is, of Mail newspapers, he couldn't understand why Doreen Lawrence was involved in all this, because it was the Mail, to their credit, that took on the man who killed her son. So, and knowing some of the people who were involved, and knowing
We love Katie Nicholl. We love Katie Nicholl.
I mean, I spoke to Katie before she was due to give evidence, and she was understandably very nervous. And there comes a point in every legal case where the barrister or the senior solicitor takes the complainant into a room and says, right, nobody's listening. This is between you and I. Are you telling the truth? Are you going to pursue this? Or should we just wipe our mouths and move on? And the thing about Harry is that he's been looking into the past for years now, for certainly for all his marriage to Meghan.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of effect has that had on their relationship? Because he's just been looking back and getting agitated by what happened. He's not drawn a line under it and moved on, which most people do with whatever major decisions they've got to make. And the other thing which struck me about the difference between Harry and Diana is that Harry is desperate for paid-for security, whereas Diana gave up security. She didn't want Scotland Yard around her. But the difference is she paid for her own security when she was in the UK, and she had a gentleman who used to be Princess Anne's Scotland Yard bodyguard who'd retired, and he was her effectively security driver.
Wow.
And so you've got to ask yourself, why didn't Harry do the same thing when he's in the UK? Just hire somebody as his mother did.
But when you do ask yourself that, does the idea of the spare come creeping back into your head, and you wonder if it's a little bit about ego? I want what Prince William has.
Good point. I mean, he spent much of his waking hours over the last few years in litigation and trying to have the same kind of privileges, and it's as his brother has. And the point you make is a good one, because a lot of his complaints in Spare is the fact that he's more popular than his brother, and his wife's more popular than his sister-in-law.
His brother's wife, yeah.
And complaining about the fact that he's not getting as much in terms of
recognition,
money, recognition, and that really eats away at his ego.
It does, and when you think about, because you made such a brilliant point about him being stuck in the past, and I was thinking about about a year ago, one of the outlets that Harry and Meghan like to brief pretty often in the States is People magazine, and someone from Meghan's camp had told People magazine that she was sick of the litigation and she wanted to focus on the future. And I really found that there was a lot of credibility in that statement, that Meghan was tired of suing everybody and fighting everybody, and just thought the only way forward was to forget and to just move on and pursue new opportunities. I don't know if Diana was as, maybe she was, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I know that on the holiday that, in the months before her death, she wanted those pictures of her in the cute bathing suits because Charles was about to throw a party for Camilla. I mean, I know that there were some petty moments like that, but for the most part, did she dwell in the past? Was there a lot of bitterness, and was she fixated on being wronged, or was she trying to move forward and find a happy ever after?
That's, for me, is the greatest tragedy of her life. She was looking forward to the future. She was looking forward to her charity work for AIDS and landmines, and I think she was about to go to Cambodia or Vietnam on some mission. She was looking forward to finding a new man, to starting a new family. I mean, she was looking forwards, and for me, the great tragedy of her premature death is that victory was snatched out of her hands because she'd done all the hard yards, she'd done all the graft, she'd eased herself away from the royal family. She was building a new life for herself. She was even thinking about living in California.
That's
she was
right.
looking at houses in Malibu or plans for houses in Malibu. So who knows? She and Harry could well have been neighbours. But you know, Diana was looking forward to the future, and I contrast that to Harry, and the fact that he's been spending an awful lot of his waking hours dwelling on the past and not thinking of a closure. And I would say, look at what his brother did. He came to a settlement. There was a statement. He moved on, and you know that's what you've got to do. I mean. Is Harry going to appeal this, for example?
Oh, please don't.
I mean, well, I couldn't bear it. And all the people who've been put under so much stress and so much duress, I feel, you know, people like Katie Nicholl, who we both know, and these are the most expensive 7 stories in the history of British journalism.
It's true.
All about £8 million each.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Hey everyone, Kinsey Schofield here, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's a total game changer, Peak's Liver Detox Protocol. You may not know it, but your liver handles a lot: energy, hormones, digestion, and even your mood. But with all the stress and toxins from everyday life, it needs some love. Forget harsh cleanses. Peak delivers gentle daily support inspired by traditional Chinese medicine. Their routine uses 2 simple blends. The first is a warming turmeric mix with cinnamon and black pepper, designed to help the body absorb it better and support the liver while calming inflammation. The second is a ginger and cinnamon blend that helps with blood flow, digestion, bloating, and immune support. The magic is how they work together to activate and flush for better digestion, stable energy, less brain fog, and that light, clear feeling. My energy is consistent, my skin is clear, and less bloating. That's Peak, where spirit meets science. Redefine your standard of health, secure 20% off your order, and begin your intentional wellness journey today at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Thanks so much. Diana did confide in you, which it's the most exciting, when it comes to journalism, probably one of the most exciting stories in the world about how you made all of this come to fruition. But she wanted to get her side out, and she was very raw and real with you through some old school journalism, third-party recording tapes, getting those tapes to you. When you watch, you know, because Prince Harry gives us a lot more access to him than even Diana did. When you watch some of these interviews, even if we talk specifically maybe about the BBC interview when he's just found out that he's not going to get government-funded armed security guards, and he sits down with the BBC and says, I don't know how much longer my father's going to be alive, and is just very raw and irritated in that interview. What reminds you of Diana, or what doesn't, or what stands out to you when you watch Harry?
Well, I think you mentioned there a rawness. When I interviewed Diana, and over the course of a year, it was, what struck me was the rawness and the honesty, and no holding back. I think it's a Spencer trait.
Yeah.
There were times where I couldn't believe what she was saying, you know, about her eating disorder, about a woman that is now the Queen that nobody had ever heard of, Camilla, of course.
Self-harm too, which had never been really discussed.
Never discussed self-harm, and one of the things that she was so pleased about in the book was the fact that so many women, mainly women, came for help with eating disorders. So she felt she'd done something very positive. But obviously, a lot of people said that she regretted the book, but she didn't. She never did. She stood by it four square.
That's really interesting to me. Can I make an observation about a difference between Harry and Diana and ask if you agree? You know, you just said to me that you spent a year with her. I feel like Prince Harry's very impulsive. I think he lacks patience. And in lacking patience, I think he blows it sometimes.
Well, Diana lacked patience as well.
Did she?
You made me laugh. I mean, when we first started this, she said, "Can you bring a book out in a week?"
Oh my gosh.
And we had to tell her, you know, it'll take about a year. A year? You know, so
Well, I mean, she did stick around for 16 years in a loveless marriage. That's a lot of patience.
yeah, a lot of patience, yeah. But she, in some things, she was quite naive.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. Diana wanted to tell you her truth, and you did say that, you know, you couldn't believe some of the stuff that was coming out of her mouth, and you did feel like that there was this real intensity and authenticity to her. I mean, I don't, it's my opinion that a judge did not feel like Harry was a credible enough witness. Do you find Harry or even Meghan to be credible, or are they not reliable narrators?
They're not reliable narrators of their own history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one thing that really irritates me, for example, Meghan saying, "Oh, the men in grey took the keys off me, my
passport,
and so on." And you know, you don't need to lock your house up in Kensington Palace. There's enough police there to keep you happy. She didn't have a car, so there were no car keys.
Yeah.
She went around the world.
Yeah. On George Clooney's private jet.
On a private jet for a baby shower in New York, which we all remember. So no, they're not credible witnesses, and the judge found Harry not to be credible because he was mistaking assumption for fact. And, you know, if you've ever worked in a newsroom, there must be 50 stories a week that are kicked out because it doesn't have something to back it up.
Yeah, enough sourcing.
I mean, I remember when I was at the foothills of the Diana book, my publisher said to me, "The one thing we've got to do is prove all this." And that was the key thing. Everything had to be proved. Oh. Everything had to be passed by a lawyer and not to become infected by lies.
Mm-hmm. And was the objective there to protect their own butts, or was the objective there to ensure that Diana wasn't using this as a chance to, you know, push her narrative out there? Is it more for legal reasons, or was there any concern that Diana was using this as a vehicle to
get her retaliation in
yes,
first?
Yes, and I mean that in comparison to Spare, which I felt like was really kind of a vengeance vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, Spare was very much attacking his own family. Diana, Her True Story was very much one-sided. There's no hesitation in saying that, because she wanted the book to be called Diana, The True Story, which would have implied that, you know, it was even and balanced narration. It wasn't at all. You know, it was her truth from her perspective, and backed up by evidence from her friends and family. So that's the one side of it. And then with Harry and Meghan, all they ever seem to do as well, as I mentioned in the Morton File Substack, that is to complain. However laudable the story about them, they always complain. So you can never get the honest truth out of them.
Was Diana more willing to take accountability, or did she not take accountability either in the way that Prince Harry refuses to? I mean, I say that, but then I don't know. I mean, I do think she was more of a victim than Harry was in some ways.
Well, she married somebody who was in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the great thing about Meghan and Harry is that they love each other.
Right.
And where making the point about is that they love each other, but surely it puts a strain on a marriage, any marriage, if you're spending your time in conversations with, $1,000 an hour lawyers, and not just for 1 week, but for year after year after year.
Yeah.
And you want to move on. You want to do something else. You want to establish charity yourself as a charity worker, not as a litigant. And I mean, this has been going on since 2006.
It's been going on, it feels like forever. And it's not just conversations with attorneys throughout the hallways of Montecito. It's testimony about ex-girlfriends. And now those relationships are brought up internationally. And I'm sure Meghan Markle's sitting back going, why are you crying on the stand about the loss of this girlfriend due to media intrusion? Are things not hunky-dory at home? I mean, I know this is a silly question to ask, but I think I'm asking again in comparison to Harry. Diana, her true story, it changed her relationship with the British royal family. I think that's fair to say that it changed her relationship with the royal family.
It made them look at something which they put their heads in the sand about.
Really?
I think that, but remember, she was never named as a contributor.
Not while she was alive.
Not while she was alive. So she had what I would call wiggle room to be able to say to the Queen's private secretary, her brother-in-law, Robert Fellows.
Dickie Arbiter is always complaining about that call he made to her to me. He to this day, he'll be like, I picked up the phone, I called her, I said, did you do this? And she's like, absolutely not. He's like, bold-faced lie.
Well, yeah, various people asked her, did you help? And she said no. People like Clive James, and she wrote, the famous novelist. But she obviously, she had the chance to say, I didn't cooperate with Morton, but my friends did, because they could see how unhappy I was. And she said that in the Bashir interview. But whereas in Spare, it's Harry raw and talking about all kinds of things that...
Prince William is circumcised, I guess I know now. Why do I know that?
Well, all royal male babies of circumcised.
Well, now I know. I didn't. That's not something I'd ever wanted to know, Andrew Morton. That's not something I ever wanted to know. You're right. That was a silly question, because you're absolutely right. We find out that Diana is the source post her death, because that was a promise you had so kindly made to her, that you were going to keep that secret. Whereas Harry is like on Andrew or Anderson Cooper, promoting this piece of work that he, I guess, boldly puts himself, and I am the author. This is who I am. So my question to you is going to be, why was Diana able to continue to navigate in that world? Well, because she simply didn't take credit for it.
Because she didn't take credit for it, whereas Harry did.
Yeah.
And Harry developed it. He appeared on chat shows and so on. And the irony is, he had a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Who spiced it all up a bit.
A little bit. I mean, I don't know how much you have to spice up a shag behind a pub, Andrew. I think it's already there. I think it's already there. Do you think that if Diana were alive today, she would encourage Prince Harry to keep explaining himself? Or do you think...
Move on.
Yeah.
That would be the two words that she would be saying. Because she was moving on.
She really was.
For me, it's the greatest tragedy, the fact that she was on the cusp of moving on with her life after so much unhappiness, so much heartache, so many false trails, broken relationships, and she was genuinely moving on. And the light at the end of the tunnel was the sunlit uplands of a new life, rather than the paparazzi flashlights.
Exactly. I think, obviously we have the benefit of looking at this timeline in a way that she was unable to, although she tried. All of the astrologers and the psychics she tried. But we can look at the timeline and see action, consequence, action, consequence, action, consequence. And I feel like sometimes I'm watching Harry just trying to do the Diana playbook, because we love her to this day, Mother Teresa. She's become the second coming. She's a saint in our eyes. And we've forgiven a lot of her sins, in death. Why is he not seeing the consequence part? Why is he just going, Oprah interview, Panorama, Spare, Diana, her true story? I feel like he's repeating a lot of some of her biggest mistakes, and it's my favorite book in the entire world. You know this to be true. But some might argue that she shouldn't have done it.
Oh, I mean, a lot of people say she shouldn't have done it. I mean, newspaper editors, politicians, and rival writers.
Yeah. Well, I am a fan. You know I love you, and you know it's my Bible. But some might suggest that she should have never complained, never explained.
Well, it's a point of view, but remember where she was at the time. Mm-hmm. She was living living a lie.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to live a lie anymore.
Yeah,
she
that's
wanted,
fair.
She wanted the truth to come out about what was really going on. And she was, furious, really, in a simmering kind of way. The fact that she's propping up the royal family with her glamour and her charisma, and the fact that she's turned the royal family from being a home counties monarchy into being an international, global sensation and phenomenon. And she comes back home to Kensington Palace and she sits there on her own and
eats cookies
and thinks, now what?
Yeah, she wanted to be loved.
Yeah, and she wanted to find love. Mm-hmm. Her husband had, but with somebody else. And that relation, that's one of the great love stories in its own curious way of the House of Windsor. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, for Harry, he's told his truth. But looking at what he says, so much of it is false or inaccurate.
Like saying that he was all alone when he receives the phone call that his grandmother, or his great-grandmother passed away, and we've got pictures of him skiing with King Charles the day that that's actually announced. That's completely inaccurate. Where were the fact checkers, Andrew Morton? Where were they?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he did have the grace, and his ghostwriter did have the grace to say that some of it was just surmise as opposed to truth. But things like saying publicly that they were married 3 days before the actual wedding.
Yeah,
and that makes it embarrassing for the Archbishop of Canterbury because it's against the law.
Yeah.
So all these things there's a carelessness about the impact that he and they will have on other people. I mean, there's a lot of victims in this whole saga, not just Harry.
I will defend. To your point right there, where I will defend the existence of this book and why I know it's important to exist and why I love Diana, her true story, is because these people are important. Historically, they're important. We're going to be talking about them 200 years from now. And what your book is on the record, what was going on behind the scenes, and in my opinion, true to what was really going on behind the scenes. And I think one of the reasons why being a royal reporter, commentator, whatever, is important and holding them, Harry and Meghan specifically, accountable is because we are dealing with history. I mean, 200 years from now, are people going to be hearing that the British royal family were racists because of what Meghan Markle and Prince Harry said during an Oprah interview? Or, are we going to push back on that narrative enough to where we know what was true in that scenario? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of grey areas here. And one of the things that struck me very hard about Spare was the fact that it's very much a hymn of praise to his mother. It's son in search of mother, really. Wow. And I found that very touching. That's one aspect of the book which really struck me. And the fact that he's being prepared to defend himself, and the fact that he's defended his mother and is in his own way is very laudable. But the way he's done it has been pick your battles. For a soldier, he takes on all comers at all times, like a fairground boxer. The Home Office, Revac, the Buckingham Palace, his father, his brother. He doesn't know when to say, hang on a minute, let's stand back. But then again, you can argue history is not made by reasonable people. And Harry's not a reasonable person.
Yeah.
He is someone who could start a fight in an empty room.
That's hilarious. What a great way to describe him. But they're kind of like that in every aspect of their life, aren't they? I guess I would, if I were lazy, I'd just say unfocused, because they're podcast hosts, they're Hollywood producers, they're authors. Now they're producing jam, and now bookmarks, and now candles. I mean, it does feel like in everything, they don't focus on one thing, make sure it grows, heavily invest in it emotionally and in every aspect of their life, and actually watch it blossom, and then look around and go, we did it, we have a success. It feels like they half-ass everything, and they're doing too much. So we abandon archetypes, we abandon Confessions of a Female Founder, we abandon With Love, Meghan. I mean, I do think that they just try to do too much.
Well, the other side of the argument is that they just weren't very successful.
Yeah.
And as you know, in American TV, radio, and podcasts are pretty ruthless. If you don't hit the numbers, you're out.
Yeah.
Just bear that in mind.
Oh, well, that's why I get big names like Andrew Morton on the show. I got to keep those numbers up. Thank God you showed up today. Well, now you're making me feel guilty about my next question, because my next question was going to be, am I cynical for feeling like he leans too heavily on the Diana legacy and trying to build his own brand in the United States? Are you telling me that you really feel like that is genuine from him? Yeah,
I think he read his book, listen to what he says. He really wants to sustain Diana's legacy, as does his brother, by the way. So, I mean, but in a quieter way. I mean, they've organised pop concerts in her honour. They've unveiled statues in Kensington Palace Gardens. For Harry, there's no escaping his parents. So he's got both parents, and one died prematurely. And forever he will have a rage, a simmering fury against the paparazzi and against the tabloids. And he'll be like a caged, there'll be a lot of frustration from him now, because he's lost against the enemies, against what he sees as the enemy.
I do believe that, I know she was just instinctually very clever, but it felt like Diana recognized that the love and affection that she received from the public was earned. She was such a selfless person. She liked to spend time in hospitals to show people affection and love. She wasn't there for herself. It felt like she was there because she wanted to make that person in front of her feel special. It was that service that we really admired in her. And then we've got Harry chasing red carpets in Hollywood. Has he lost sight of what made Diana so special to us? Well,
you see Harry with ill, sick children yesterday. The fact that he's devoted a lot of his life to the Invictus Games shows you that that he's very much following in his mother's footsteps with regards to that kind of behaviour. And he does have charisma. He walks into a room and people respond to him and they like him. He used to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people forget. He's the one who took on the sprinter, his name's escaped me.
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt,
yeah.
of course. Usain Bolt, and in a mock race, he was a fun guy, but he's turned into an embittered middle-aged man, and he's going to have to be very careful because it bleeds into your everyday work that you're just hostile and aggrieved.
Well, I mean, did you just answer this question? Why has life outside of the institution proven so much harder for Prince Harry than he's expected? I mean, he was a rock star post-Megxit. He's got Netflix. I don't know if everybody remembers this, but they were initially talking to Quibi, which was a tiny video platform, like a micro video platform. Then Amazon, I know, was fighting for them. Netflix ultimately wins, but they had a bidding war for their Archwell Productions. Netflix gives them an ungodly amount of money that just simply wouldn't happen today. Just, we're going to throw all this money at you and hope it works out, not paid per success, which is typically how it lays out. He gets this Spotify deal. He's pitching podcasts where he interviews Trump and Putin, which is a very unrealistic goal. And professionally, on the entertainment side, yes, you're right. We should always acknowledge the important things he's doing on the Invictus side, and Scotty's Little Soldiers and Well Child. He remains committed to some of these causes that have always been important to him. But from a professional standpoint, I think he's not been as comfortable in the States. Do you acknowledge, or do you believe that as well?
Yeah, very much so. I think that they got in under the wire, as it were, of a major financial clampdown at Netflix, Amazon, and the rest of them. And they got this wonderful deal with Netflix that they paid back in terms of the documentary that they did. But then it was what comes next. Mm-hmm. What do you do after this? And Prince Edward, his uncle, he started a TV company.
Yeah.
And he ended up doing documentaries about
his family.
Guess what? About his family.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just because you're a soldier, just because you're royal, doesn't mean to say that you're going to make stonking great blockbuster movies and documentaries all the time.
I would watch a movie about a prince that got naked in Vegas.
You would?
Maybe Harry just needs to make his life story. I might watch Harry's life story, the silly prince that used to be fun, that would get naked in Vegas. That's entertainment to me.
Yeah, that's okay. But the point you're making is a good one. They've tried so many different things, and some have come off, some haven't. I mean, she wanted to be the Martha Stewart of the modern day, and that fell down. Mm. The story about the jam is, has she sold millions of dollars worth of it, or is it all stewing away in a warehouse somewhere? They've got traction in the media world thanks to their contacts with people like Oprah Winfrey and others. And she was, by the way, talking to them. She was in discussions, secret discussions, before they got married to do a documentary. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing, they've been looking to monetize or publicize how they feel. I think that the next big issue is going to be, when will Meghan write her biography?
Oh, I agree with you there.
When the Duke of Windsor wrote his, that was 1951. Then 6 years later, Wallis Simpson wrote her autobiography, or had it ghostwritten.
Yeah.
Well, Meghan's a very good writer, and she should actually write her own book, because that would fly off the shelves.
Wouldn't you rather than buy Meghan by Andrew Morton?
Sorry?
Wouldn't you rather than buy Meghan by Andrew Morton?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's promote that book, Andrew Morton.
I mean, that's a good little book, I think.
I think it's a very good little book. You were one of the first out of the gate to give us a little insight into who Meghan Markle was.
Well, I mean, and the funny thing was, it was all low-hanging fruit, because as you know, I live in Pasadena in
That's right.
California
That's right.
for some of the year. And Meghan, she was a homecoming queen for the local schools. She was in plays,
Our little tea house, she went and learned how to have tea with the Queen there.
learned how to have tea, and run by Edmund and Mary Fry.
So sweet. They're so sweet.
And you've met them as well.
Yes, absolutely. I got an autographed copy of Diana, Her True Story there before you physically signed a different copy. I have multiple copies of your book, is
Well,
what
that's
I'm
more
trying
than
to
I've got.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You are staying up to date with everything on your Substack. And if you didn't get enough of Andrew Morton today, it's the Morton Files on Substack. You're also, this guy's on Instagram. If you're not following Andrew Morton on Instagram, he gives you the latest on where he might be speaking, when he has new books coming out. We had great numbers when we discussed your book on Churchill and Queen Elizabeth. So the audience really enjoyed that as well. So whenever he releases a new book, you can find that information on your Instagram page.
And Substack.
And now your Substack. Now people can be engage more intimately with you there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for spending time with me today. I know that the audience is going to be excited to see your face and hear your sweet voice again. And I will forever be grateful to you. Thank you for your kindness 5 years ago. Thank you so much.
Yeah, a few years ago in Pasadena, wasn't it?
Yeah, thank you for saying yes to me, and you changed my life. So thank you. I'll forever be grateful for you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to see you and to talk to you, and I've very much enjoyed this conversation this morning.
Thank you, sir. All right, agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments below, but please be nice. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Thanks so much for watching, and subscribe to Andrew Morton on Substack. Bye.